You know, I've never understood why some people are horridly homophobic, to the point where if you make even the most minuscule of glizzy joke, they start sounding like this. But you wanna know the funniest thing about these gay haters? They were once inside of a man. Not only that, they got shot out of a man's willy at Mach speed, and if the world worked the way it should, they would have landed on their mother's face, just like Junkrat should have. But unfortunately, they landed in the wrong hole, and happened to be the spermicide Michael Phelps. So in case you haven't caught the jizz yet, today we're going to be ranking each Overwatch hero based on their cock sizes, and I'm only going to be ranking the male heroes this time around, because although most of the female heroes most certainly use strap-ons, I feel like the rankings would mostly be redundant. So let's gloss over Diva, and let's begin with Doomfist. Real quick, I just want to let y'all know that these rankings are going to be hypothetical. I have no idea what these gentlemen are actually packing in reality. I mean, I'm sure there's some canonical cock sizes on some STD riddle website, but I will not be looking that information up. That being said, Doomfist has to have a magnifyingly massive meat stick. If Drake was an Overwatch hero, he would be Doomfist. Although I don't think Drake has any other features that correlate to Doom whatsoever, because last I checked, Doom prefers his women over 18. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume Doomfist is packing a solid 8.5 inches. But I'm sure if I went searching for proof, that measurement would be slightly off. So I'm gonna give Doom 8+ tier. And no, this does not refer to their preference of women. But I guess now would be a good time to explain the tiers to you. So instead of the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, L, G, B, T, Q, fucking whatever tiers, I have divided them up by inches in sections of 2. So you know, you got 8, 6, 4, 2, and then micro meat, which is below 2 inches. Now that you got that, let's move on to Mauga. And I need you to think about this. Mauga's on more roids than Rich Piana, meaning his nuts have got to be the size of a dust particle. But with his nuts being so tiny, that's bound to make his intramittent organ look absolutely massive. Then again, for some reason I'm getting the vibe that Mauga isn't packing as much as Doomfist, so I'm gonna have to plow him straight into 6+ tier, because I reckon he's packing at least a solid 6er. Next up is Ramattra. Now Ramattra reminds me very heavily of Frank Sinatra, and we all know that Mobsta had a massive tata. Ramatra's an omnic, but honestly, I think that only helps him in this instance, because usually, from what I've seen, robots have decently grown dingle-a-dongs. Omnic? More like nomnic on that dick. In order for this clip that is certainly being made right now to end, I'm gonna wrap this up, although wrapping Ram's hog of a lower honker would certainly be hard, pun intended. So I'm going to gracefully place Ramattra into the 8+ club. Next up we got Rein'hard't, and this is just a bit unfair, because Rein'hard't is a 7'4" gargantuous golem of a man, and usually, not all the time though, taller peoples have longer meat pools, and I reckon Rein'hard't is one of the men who have gifted giant genitalia. To be honest, I think Rein probably has the largest meat out of the whole Overwatch cast. Now it may be a bit wrinkly with some odd folds here and there, but I still reckon it's larger than most. So I'm gonna make a new tier and put Rein'hard't straight into the 10-incher club. Now I know you've all been waiting for this one. It seems like every other question I get on my Discord server is the same thing. Nox, which part of Bubba do you love the most? And usually I give a pretty vague answer and just say all of his features. But I've been lying to y'all. Allow me to finally tell you the truth. The best feature on Bubba's body, in my opinion, has got to be his massive Bubba Ladong. Just imagine what it would look like. Probably like 2 Discord mods fused into each other. Shit is unbelievably girthy. In fact, Bubba probably has more girth on his sperm birther than he does length. But that isn't a bad thing. I reckon Bubba's packing a solid 4 inches. But since he makes up for it with his girth, I think it's only right to put him in the 6-incher category. I just realized how fucking diabolical my life has become. Next up is Sigma. I get a very strong sense that Sigma has a subsequently surreal sleeper build to his schlong. Jesus, that was hard to say. So based off of my 6th dick sense, I can assure you that Sigma is indeed packing a wallop of a whammy bar. It's always the crazy motherfuckers that pack the meanest pecker punch, and Sigma's pecker is definitely pack-a-punched, because that shit is massive. I don't know what it is about these heroes, but so far I'm getting the vibe that most of these bitches have fabulous ball dividers. So enough rambling. Sigma's gonna slide straight into the 8-inch pincher club. Next up is WintOn. Oh my god. Next up is WintOn, and sadly, WintOn seems to have gone through the same experience that my dog did, because his nuts are non-existent. Even worse, his monkey cock is also non-existent. We need to start a riot in rivaling Blizzard into giving Winston his meat back, even if it wouldn't work after reattachment, but I'm sure some Gorilla Glue would do just fine. But until then, I'm gonna have to put my boy Winston Overwatch in micro meat tier, because unless you have an ape brain, there's no arguing that Winston's willy simply doesn't exist. Next up we got Hammond, and I could say the exact same thing I just said about WintOn about Hammond, but I'm just gonna rant about him instead. If an Al-Qaeda terrorist were to ever have a day off of flying planes into buildings and happen to hop on Overwatch, Hammond would be his go-to hero, because not only do you terrorize the enemy team's backline all game when you play Hammond, but your teammates also consider you a terrorist due to the fact that 9,112,001% of the time you're nowhere to be fucking found. You know what else is nowhere to be found? Hammond's microscopic penis. And you know where microscopic penises go? Micro meat tier. I hate this man. Delete him from the game, please. Next up is Bastion, and honestly, I've always just assumed that Bastion's Gatling gun is his gongladong, because if you look at Bastion's Gucci Gooch area, it's flatter than the average Vapor's heart monitor line after 5 years. So originally, I was just gonna give Bastion micro tier, but then it clicked. Bastion is a robot, which means the beings that constructed him maybe just didn't want to put Bastion's iron dick axe where they usually go, but instead they built his puncher into his turret, and honestly, I think this is the most logical explanation as to why Bastion's meat doesn't seem to exist. So I'm gonna slide Bastion into the 10-incher tier, cause that minigun is certainly not mini. Next up we got Smashity McCream, or at least I think he's a Smashity, unlike this low IQ individual. If you look up Cassidy Overwatch penis on any web browser, oh my god, dude. The images that come up will feature Cass's cataclysmically large cock and balls. But in reality, I think Cass is packing a pretty average package. I think homie has a solid 6 inches to his name, so that's exactly where he's gonna go. You probably expected me to instantly put him in the 10-inch club, since he's my main and all, but nah, there are no biases here, besides Bubba. Next up is Genji, and Mada have mercy, because Genji must have a miraculous meat stick. Just kidding, he's Japanese. Genji's gobbleable glizzy is certainly nothing special. It's not microscopic, but unfortunately he's cursed with a miniature Japanese joke stick that these Japs can't seem to escape. Having a small semen shooter isn't all bad though, as it makes doing basic dong tasks easier and more time efficient. Depending on how big your balls are, you don't even gotta grab your pisser when urinating. It'll just comfortably rest on them suckers. Same with washing your nuts. When your wiener is the size of Ant-Man, you don't need to move your megalodong out of the way when you're showering. Not that you shower, you do play Overwatch though. If you're wondering why I know all of this, it's because I suffer from the Japanese curse as well, although I am 100% American. I don't know where the fuck I inherited it, you fuck. Anyways, I'm gonna put Genji in the 2-inch tier, but Genji has nothing to worry about, cause I'll keep the seat warm for him. Next up is Genji's Shimada brother, Hanzo, and I know Hanzo is also a member of the dog eater ethnicity, but for some reason, I feel like he's different than the rest. Hanzo's dongzo is almost certainly as big as his bongos, and we all know Hanzo's bongos are huge and amazing. You know what else is huge and amazing? Your pecker if you become a channel member. I heard it grows by 3 inches once you press that join button, and Lord knows y'all need that. Alright, back to Papa Hanzo. If you're an avid Ogrewart Roll 34 enjoyer like me, you would know that Hanzo and Cassidy are like gay lovers, and we already know that Cassidy's a 6er, but I don't think that's the case for Hanzo, because I think Hanzo has Cass slightly beat in terms of meat, so I'm gonna put Hanzo right above Cassidy in the 6+ tier, because I reckon he's a solid 7. Now next up we got Junkrat, and I'm gonna make this quick, since I've already made a whole dedicated video on why I hate Junkrat's guts, and let me tell you, Junkrat is not lengthy enough to rearrange any guts. In fact, Junkrat probably has negative penile length, so he's getting his own tier. Junkrat gets mangina tier. Absolutely despicable. Next up is Reaper, and I already touched on this fact in the autistic armpit tier list, but under Reaper's emo phasable cloak, he's a rather snazzy fella, and I bet he smells good as shit too. With that said, it doesn't even matter if Reaper has a microbe-like meat packer, but thankfully that's not even the case, because Reaper has no such microbian mallet. In fact, he likely has a delusionally long dongle. It's probably similar if not identical to Doomfist, although Reaper probably has a few cuts and rashes on his since, well, isn't he like constantly in pain or something? I don't fucking know. I don't know. All I know is that Reaper is definitely packing at least 8 inches of heat, so that's exactly where he's going. Next up is Soldier 76, and as we all know, Soldier is a people pleaser. I mean, every Wednesday I see him at the weekly Gator all-star event where he's always winning at Soggy Biscuit. In fact, I think he's been undefeated going on 20 years. Probably because he uses his aimbot, making it impossible to miss the biscuit. Speaking of which, I actually tried a biscuit once, not knowing where it came from, and I was very confused on why it was so salty. Thinking about it, it also had a hint of fish. But that's besides the point. Speaking of points, Soldier's point is definitely a good 12 inches past his waistline. That shit extends out further than Pinocchio's long lying ass nose. I mean, why else would the gays be simping over him throughout all the years? Soldier 70 dick has to be massive, so I'm gonna give Susser 76 a solid 10 pluser tier. But you know who's staying 10 plus miles away from the 10 inch tier? Torbjorn, cause I've seen dicks as big as Torbjorn. Okay, not actually, but the point is, he's just really fucking short, which doesn't necessarily mean his glizz is short, but I can't imagine it being bigger than 4 inches. So I'm gonna give Brigit's short fat ass of a father a solid 2 pluser tier, cause I reckon he's packing a solid 3 inches on a good day. Next up is Venture. Yeah, you know what? I think it's just best if we leave them over here. Next up is the first support candidate, Baptiste. And you most certainly need some sort of support to hold up Bap's massive log of a dog. I didn't put him on the thumbnail for no reason. He's packing. And if this video got demonetized, which, let's be honest, it definitely has, you can blame Bap's pleasurable piece for that mishap. Or should I say Miss Bap? Laugh. Bap's got that beautiful BBC on him, which I never thought I would say in all honesty. But Bap is sure to make you his glizzy. So I'm putting him in 8 plus tier. Now next up is Lifeweaver. And if I haven't already sounded like a raging homosexual talking about the other heroes, allow me to introduce you to the homo herogasm. Lifeweaver is a very soothing man with skin that looks like it would turn your hand to silk with one touch. But if his Vienna sausage were to ever glide across your ugly ass face, consider yourself deceased. And when I say deceased, I mean happily deceased. Cause although Lifeweaver's loony may not be the biggest, it's still the bestest. Wow, we really have come a long way from the first tier list in terms of Lifeweaver, huh? Lifeweaver's definitely packing a 6 incher, but damn it, it's the best 6 incher you'll ever see. So he's going to the top of the 6 plus category. Fucking move over, Bubba, goddamn. Next up is Lucio, and I call him Lucio because that's exactly what this man gets on the daily. Lucio's Red Rager Riz is sure to earn him Rapid Ravine on the daily, even if it's only 4 inches. But according to Google, 4 inches is all you need, so at least Google has my back. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Lucio a solid 4 inch tier. And lastly, we got Zenyatta, and this is about to be a Zen Slada, let me tell you. This hero is the ugliest out of all the Omnics in the game, and that's saying something, cause 95% of them are Glibgub Gabgalab levels of ugly. Speaking of the Glibgub Gabgalab, I bet that jiggly fucker has a bigger meat stick than Zen, cause there is just no way this man can have a programmable Peter any bigger than 1 inch. Holy shit. 10 inch tier. And that was the miraculous meat tier list. If you enjoyed this 9 out of 11 content, make sure you hawk that like button. The grand finale is the next list and marks the final main tier list. But don't worry, there will be more. But I'm moving on to bigger and better things. So make sure you stay tuned. And if you like these tier lists, watch my other videos. It's the same shit. They're just a teensy bit less degenerate. So make sure y'all click the playlist on your screen. That way you can binge all the tier lists. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.